Are we on?
Yes.
Excellent.
For a long-winded reason I can't give you now.
Then this is the Spanish Grand Prix. Welcome, everybody. Another edition. Fabio and Simos with you. And today we've got a new guest that will be joining us, I hope very shortly. So just welcome to Fabio. Okay, not welcome to Fabio. Obviously, that's fine. We'll just say hello to our other guest at the moment, if I can anyway. Can you new guest, can you introduce yourself, please?
My name is G-Man.
Oh, hello, G-Man. Well, I didn't realise that you were a massive Formula One fan.
That is a lie from the pit of hell.
Oh, is it? Oh, then why are you here?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Preaching to the Choir Ministries.
Oh, I see. You just want to get all of that stuff. Well, let's do a bit of the show first, and then we'll be with you. No, G-Man, we're really going to have to do the show first. So anyway, onwards with Spain and the race. So yeah, Fabio, over to you, sir. How did you find the race today? Did the rain in Spain fall mainly on the Formula One cars, or was it mainly on teams? Fabio.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that because I had to Windows open. I had a fucking feedback on my side, so I have no fucking idea. I see G-Man is here, so that's very good. Yeah, I mean he's very knowledgeable on anything, and I'm sure he's going to be knowledgeable on F1. It was painful. I mean, I would be blunt. I mean, it was painful to watch. There is a lot of things, to be talked about. There is Tiregate. I'm not, to be fair, I wasn't really worried too much about the tires. I was worried a little bit more about the two engines which didn't perform well.
Were they red engines?
Yeah, they were red engines. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Other than that, what? I mean, Grosjean, just amused us, and I really do hope that the guy loses his license because that was that was painful to watch. I mean,
right, Grosjean. Yeah, so Grosjean got to about turn 3, I think it was.
Yeah,
and he basically went off the track, and then in order to stay possibly in the race, at least in some position, he decided to try and save the car by flooring the throttle and giving it massive opposite lock. Not that there is a lot of opposite lock on a Formula One car. And
he did that like a fucking idiot.
Hang on, instead of correcting the car, this basically wheel span him right across the track in front of another 15 cars.
Yes.
This is madness. I mean, he really should have his license taken away. It's not the kind of thing that you could acceptably do. So, yeah, Fabio.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fucking moron. I mean, it's already bad that he just, decided to make a 360 in the middle of the fucking race. But also by doing that, he basically threw a smoke screen that, I mean, James Bond would have been flabbergasted, by the guy. I mean, that was it. I have no fucking idea what the hell he was doing. What the hell he was thinking. I mean,
I think he had a flashback to playing PUBG, and he thought, right, shit, I've hurt myself. I need to heal. I'm just going to lay a few smokes down.
Right. I mean, the guy is beyond redemption, and
crazy. And his excuse was rubbish as well, right? Because he lit the tires up. Right?
Yes.
So if he'd just given it a bit of throttle and then backed off to see if the car caught, fair enough. But he didn't. He kept his foot fucking planted even into oncoming fucking traffic.
That was
amateurs. GP2 amateurs.
That was fucking amazing. I mean, it's already bad. You think about doing that stuff, but actually doing that stuff, it's. I mean, I don't know what the fuck possessed the guy. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was reaction, and this is the point. It's reaction the wrong way. Okay, it's reaction on the dangerous side. And if they're just go-karts, then fair enough, right? Well, not even fair enough. Even in a go-kart, you're going to get pulled aside and told that that kind of driving is not acceptable.
Yeah. And they and FIA decided to punish him with 2 points on the license and being and starting 3 positions.
3 grid places.
Yeah, 3 grid places in Monaco, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
that guy should not been allowed for at least 1 race. At least, it was insane.
Do you remember that time that he went down the inside at Spa?
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy. You know,
yeah.
And to be fair, he hasn't really, you know, put a foot wrong since, you know, maybe that season he did a few bad things, right? But he's been pretty clean. So, I mean, whether he can be forgiven for this one, I mean, I personally don't think so, because he just kept the tyres lit, right? If he'd kind of like, if he'd been genuine about trying to save the car, he wouldn't have kept his foot down.
Yeah.
I mean, no way. He would have lifted once he'd realised he'd fucked up big time.
I've listened to many, you know, commentaries and, you know, from various drivers, and the nicest one said that he was insane. That was the nicest one.
He was insane.
Yes.
I am laughing my butt off at you guys right now.
Yeah, I don't blame you, G-Man. It was quite a funny thing to see. I have to say, hugely dangerous.
Well, it was nice to see, unless you were Hülkenberg and what was the other guy? Gasly, I think.
Gasly, yeah.
Yeah.
Gasly. And he would have had a good race as well. So
yeah, yeah, it was great. So can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Oh yes, certainly. You're talking tyres now, are you?
I'm talking tyres. I'm talking tyres.
Okay. So why didn't the Ferrari switch its tyres on for long enough?
Sorry, say again.
Why didn't the Ferrari switch its tyres on? Because that seemed to me the issue here, right? Even afterwards, Vettel was saying he could only switch it on every now and again.
Well, there are some things to be said about the tires. First of all, the official statement from Pirelli is that the tires were the same, but for a reduction in the tread. And the reduction was, according to them, 0.4 of a millimeter. So it's really, really like nothing.
Yeah.
And let me tell you one thing. I was involved specifically with a tire testing in my days in competitions, and to be fair, I would have never thought, and to my knowledge, no driver would have thought that such a small difference would have made that huge of a difference. There's also to be said, my competition times were not in F1, and as far as I understood, and I made some inquiries about that. A 0.4 millimeters basically translates in like 15 degrees less in the tire. First of all, let's say that the reason it was done, it was because in the tests in Barcelona, some teams complained about blistering on the tires. Blistering is not graining. Blistering is the tire which eats on the bottom. So basically, there are some huge chunks of tire which explode. So you're left with huge holes in the tire, and that can be really dangerous. And some teams complain about that. Reducing the tread by 0.4 millimeters, according to Pirelli, brings down the temperature of 15 degrees. Now, 15 degrees might not seem too much. Let me give you some feedback on that. The hypersoft tires, the working range of hypersoft tires is 85 to 105 degrees. I'm talking about centigrades here. The ultra soft tires is 90 to 110. So and it's the same for the super soft tires. The soft tires are from 105, 135. The mediums is 110 to 130. So it's basically the working range. It's like 20 to 30 degrees. If you take down the temperature of a tire by 15 degrees, you can understand that you're changing a lot. It's way more than 0.4 millimeter might tell you.
Yeah, I mean, we should say that a 5-degree track temperature change can really make a difference to a Formula One car.
Yeah,
by as much as like half a second, maybe a whole second sometimes.
Yes, and again, we're talking about, you know, the working range of the current tires in 2018. It's about 30 degrees, depending on the tires. You know, the softer or harder, the temperature raises a little bit, but the working range is 15 degrees. If you basically cool down the tires by 15 degrees, if you have a car which doesn't use the tires really well, basically they overheat the tires, you're giving them a free pass on whatever the reason it is that they're not using the tires, you know, properly. And by properly, I mean like all the other teams. There was an interesting thing that they said in Ferrari before the race, and by the way, you got to give it to the guys. I mean, Ferrari never complained about the tires. There were the drivers, you know, which complained about the tires. They said, you know, they didn't feel really, you know, the same thing. But yeah, Ferrari officially never complained about the tires. But they said one thing which was really interesting to me, and the thing that said that they have never been consulted on the tire change. They've been informed of the tire change. And regardless on which side of the barricade you are, I think that if you change a component so critical as the tires mid-season, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I'm not taking sides, Ferrari, Mercedes, or whatever. But you know, if you change something middle of the season, that's totally unacceptable.
I mean, to a degree, right? I mean, obviously, we're talking Formula One, so we're talking politics. Pirelli have got their own designation that they don't want to be in the news, right? So, because it's always bad when it's tire news. So, you know, so I think that's why they're doing it, because they realize that as they go on through the season, you know, the majority of the field are not going to be able to switch the tires on. If that's the case, then obviously the cars can't perform to anything near their standard. You can only go as fast as the tires will let you. And if your car's, you know, more powerful than that, that's not going to make a difference, because you can't go fast enough. Otherwise, you overheat the tires and then you lose time. So again, it's a circle thing. I think I would agree with you that it seems very political. It doesn't seem like this is a good thing for the fairness of competition, when clearly Ferrari had a great car which works its tires harder. Presumably, that's what we're saying, right? Mm-hmm. Whether that's true or not, I'm not completely certain yet. You know, I think it might be more to do with the fact that, you know, Mercedes, again, been away and done more work on the tires.
I don't know about that. I mean, we got to remember also, and people, you know, forgets about that a lot. But, you know, Barcelona, we knew that was a track that was favorable to Mercedes anyway.
Indeed, yeah.
That's the thing. You know?
Well, you know, to be fair, again, in pre-season testing, Mercedes and Ferrari were very, very close.
Yeah, but I mean, you know,
and that didn't prove out. I mean, you know, we have to say Ferrari's underperformed in this race.
Yes.
Right. Now, and again, and I just want to say about the tyres just briefly, because I did say, you know, this year is going to be a tyre-dominated year, and even more so now, right? Because clearly, you know, Pirelli are not going to just put up with people complaining about their tyres all year. They're going to make changes. So, you know, because of that, I mean, I hope they do go back and, you know, I hope they change the chemistry in the tyre, really, to allow at least the gaps to open up between the, you know, to the gaps to open up between the different grades of tyre. So I think it's down to Pirelli going away and sorting out the chemistry of their tyres again, basically.
Oh, some kind of the chemistry of the whatever it is.
Chemistry, yeah. Exactly, it's the chemistry, G-Man.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, you know, words to wise. I mean, when G-Man speaks, I'm flabbergasted, you know, by his huge barrel of knowledge that he has. But you know, just to go back on the topic, I don't blame Pirelli per se. Okay, and that might sound really strange. I'm not blaming them. They would have got a lot of bad press, and they build tires. So, as a company statement, they want to give, you know, the best product. They don't want to have, you know, tires exploding or, you know, chunks of tires going out in the race. I agree with that. What I'm really puzzled, and I'm trying to choose my word carefully because I already know there is a lot of fanboys over there which will get mad about it. But fuck them all. I mean, fuck them, all of them. What it is one thing if you have to change tires because of security reasons, like what happened. I can't remember the year, but you do remember the year that, you know, they basically raced like 6 cars in Indianapolis. You know, I think it was the first time they raced over there. Yeah. I mean, it is one thing if you do that for security reason, but that's not a security reason. That was only some teams, and Mercedes specifically, which could not use the tires in the proper range, and they decided to do that again, not for security reasons, but it was more of a marketing reason, and that I think it's not fair. I mean, if you have a car that cannot use the tires which have been presented at the beginning of the reason in the proper way, you know what? Tough shit. You either run, you know, harder tires, or you run slow. I mean, it's your fucking problem. It cannot be the problem of everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you do remember, you know, when they beginning to use the ground effect. Then the Brabham came with the car with the fan on the back.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I mean, that car, you know, got there, won the race, and they decided it wasn't safe enough. I mean, that's the same amount of bullshit, you know. Those are the rules. I play by the rules, and all of a sudden the rules are different because fuck reasons. I mean, that is not really cool, you know.
Well, I mean, okay. I'm just going to take account of you just for the moment. I tend to agree with you. You know, I would like to have seen. Okay. There's several things I disagreed. I mean, for me, I disagreed at the beginning of last year, at the end of last year, about the tyres for this year when I heard what Pirelli were doing. So I'm against the tyre regime as it is. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is it's this gap between tyres which makes a difference in strategy, right? That's it, okay? And if you're not going to have a big enough gap between the tyres, and you're going to have different temperature ranges that the tyres work in, you're already going against the ethos of trying to create some strategy around tyres, right? Because, you know, you can design a car, right, which just uses the hard tires, right? That's a specific temperature range, and as long as you're in a country where that temperature range is there, you're gonna be fine. That doesn't seem logical to me.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about that. The only thing I'm saying is that, you know, we all know that tires are a critical component of the way you design a car. Yeah, and those were the tires that were presented at the beginning of the seasons. Sure. Everybody knew the characteristics. Everybody had the same very amount of time, you know, to test them, and that's it.
Let me disagree with you halfway through, if I may, because I know the point you're making. No, I disagree in that these tires came very late, and the cars were already designed before the tires arrived.
Okay, so, no, I get okay.
to me, this is a different case to the normal case where.
Yeah, but that doesn't change what I'm going to say in too much. Okay, I get your point. I agree with you. What I'm saying is that all the teams had the very same amount of time to design the car according to the tires. It's not that some team had the tires before some other teams and they could design the time accordingly. I think that's so much we all agree on. So
yeah,
if that's the standard, I mean, we can agree that the standard is wrong. And I do agree with you. You remember what I said about Baku race, the last race. It was good because nobody could basically take the tires to the proper temperature. So I agree with you. I mean, the standard might be wrong, but that's a fucking standard. You don't change the standard midway. And especially, you don't change the standard if there are not security reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my own. I can understand why people are complaining a lot.
Yeah, okay. I mean, again, I tend to agree with you in general, although for this particular reason, because the first races were like they were, I think it's a good thing that they're going to change slightly. But I do think that 15 degrees is a ridiculous change. I had no idea it was that much. So I would agree with you that, this seems to me more political than for, entertainment reasons even.
Right.
Because if it's the case that the Ferrari really continues to struggle, then they've deprived of us of what would have been a fantastic championship.
And maybe, just maybe, because I don't know if we will have, some feedback in the times, even if I think, somebody will able to, to get some proper timing, there'll be some tests in Barcelona, I think next week or this week. I can't remember exactly.
This week, yeah.
Yeah, and they will test both the compounds.
Mm-hmm.
So now that would be really interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, it will also tell us what the politics are, right? And let's face it. I mean, normally Pirelli have been a fairly strident supporter of Ferrari. So I wouldn't anticipate that there is something political behind this. I would anticipate that this is that the decision they Ferrari made was purely for entertainment reasons.
Well, I mean, if they did for entertainment reasons, they made the wrong decision, because I fell asleep midway during the race. That was such a fucking boring race. It reminded me of the races 2 years ago.
Yeah, but Barcelona. I mean, I've always said, for me, Barcelona is a good chance to get an hour and a half sleep, because I can watch the race into the first corner and then wake up for the last corner. Yeah,
I mean, that was so boring. Another interesting thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you agree with me, is Lewis Hamilton. It seemed to me, and again, I might be wrong, but I want some feedback from you. It seemed to me that Lewis, when the car is doing really well, is really exceptional. When the car has got some problems, he can't ride over the problems of the car.
I mean, I would tend to agree with you in the respect that, I would have agreed yes and no. Okay. So I think if the car is overheating its tires, I don't think any driver is good enough to get around.
No, but I'm talking in general.
So in general, my answer in general is yes. That might have been true a few years ago, but nowadays he is the complete driver, and I think he's learned to drive cars which understeer, which oversteer, which are neutral. I don't think he may have a preference still, but he's a complete enough driver to be able to drive around problems of understeer.
No, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about performances of Bottas, for example. In this year, every race but the last one, where Lewis was, actually was really exceptional. But even the races before, when the car had some problems, I mean, I would tend to say that Bottas was probably a better driver
Sure.
there is a lot of things to be taken into considerations, and
yeah, but I think Hamilton's had a tenth or two on Bottas since the beginning. I mean, and that's just under even adverse conditions. It seems to me Lewis can normally pull it out, but. I'm a huge Lewis fan, and
I agree. Yeah.
There's no way. I was thinking. I was one of the things that really confirmed Lewis for me was a few years back when the fuel regulations changed. Lewis knew, obviously, and learnt to drive the car while saving fuel, and he realised ahead of everybody else, it seemed, down the pit lane, that was going to be one of the key factors for the year. And I have to say, he learned to do it better than just about anybody else that was learning. Alonso learned to do it, and Rosberg also learned to do it. But Lewis was always the one that had the most fuel at the end of the race. So it just shows that how much he can change his style of driving from being this all-out attack driver that we kind of knew Lewis to be into a much more deliberate and careful driver, and one that thinks more like Prost and Senna.
There is another thing which I noticed that I know I'm trying to piss you off slowly. If you see my trend, I'm trying to slowly poke you until you're pissed off. I just went through I'm not considering the last race, but the races before, and I was looking about the impact that the pace car, the safety car, and the virtual safety car had in the races. And I know it's really stupid because it doesn't take into consideration how the race would have ended, but if you froze the race before the safety car and the virtual safety car in the previous 4 races, Sebastian would have had 17 points more than what he has now. And this, besides pissing you off, I think it's a good segue to the virtual safety car shithole that is still going on, and they have no fucking idea why they have not, get rid of it.
Yeah, well, I would basically laugh in the face of that. And say, no, I don't think that's the case. I think Ferrari made an error, obviously. That's pretty clear that they shouldn't have pitted when they did.
You're only talking about the last race. I was talking about everything but the last race. On purpose.
Right, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Well, fair enough. I don't think it was a strong start from Lewis to the season, but I don't think that's made too much of a difference in that. The Mercedes is obviously another diva car, but this is what's so strange, because that seemed to turn, right? It seemed like Sebastian's car was the diva car because it was wearing the tyres out quicker. Now, what does that really mean, right? What does that mean? It probably means that Ferrari does indeed work the tyres harder than the Mercedes, right? If that's the case, then every time we get to a hot country, the Ferrari is going to be dropping off.
It's going to be interesting because they said that the same compound. I don't want to talk about the 0.4 millimeters because I think there is way more than that. I don't think it's only a reduction in the thread which makes the 15 degrees difference. But they said that they're going to use the same tires, I think, in Silverstone and in France. And it's going to be interesting to see if they're actually going to keep on, with that program, or if then they won't say, okay, fuck it, we're going to use the same tires all over the seasons. I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come down to just depending on the temperature of the circuit at the time, and that one of the cars doesn't perform every time that they're in adverse conditions, and that's my fear. But I've got a lot of trust that the F1 engineers will be able to get around it, whatever tyres they decide to put on the cars. And if that's the case, then it's only going to get more exciting as both the teams work out exactly what their cars can do with the different strategies and different tire compounds. So yeah, I guess it's going to be good.
I mean, but anyway, it's going to be really interesting. Another thing which really was really interesting to me was the fact that everybody seemed to be afraid of the way that the rear view mirrors of Ferrari made a big fuss about it. Jesus, I mean, and they said, I mean, fuck me. If they're worried about the rear view mirrors, we are golden. You know what? We are fucking golden. Because if that's the problem you have, fuck me sideways. Yeah, go ahead with it.
Yeah, but you notice how quickly the FIA banned it.
They didn't ban in Barcelona because they were not sure about it. And let me tell you one more thing about the rear view mirrors. If they go into banning, Ferrari's rear view mirrors, I think they will have to make a very hard look to the rear view mirrors in Red Bull and in Force India. If you see the images, Force India has got 3 pylons attached to the rear view mirror. And Red Bull, there is a huge difference between they got a secondary pylon which used to stop at the side of the car, and now is going way deeper with an L-shaped thing, So that's gonna be really, really. I mean, everybody's got to watch them really closely,
Yeah, I would agree as well. I mean, I think there's some ominous signs here that. The fact that the Force Indias didn't really perform is a bit worrying. They seem to me to be, that's a bit worrying to me. So I guess, I guess it's aerodynamics then, isn't it? Is that what we're saying? If it is just the aerodynamics, then why didn't the McLaren do a lot better? Because clearly their front end package is impressive. Right?
Yeah. It was only a tenth of a second fast. Yeah,
it's crazy for all that. What looks to be, great aerodynamic work. So
well, I mean, it is different between Ferrari. I mean, to be fair, it is different to have that kind of impact on a McLaren or a Red Bull or a Ferrari, stuff like that. The thing is that as we all know, it's not that difficult to get 1 second if you are 5 seconds behind. But when you go there, it's exponential, So you get a tenth, there's so much work more than going 1 second faster if you got to go, from the back of the grid. So yeah, there is that too. But yeah, I mean, McLaren's situation is really shitty, to be fair.
I'm quite excited though. I mean, I think they've done really well this year, so I'm really glad. I always want to see McLaren do well, and Williams more than McLaren.
I agree with you,
Williams. But I'm so, again this year I'm so impressed by Stroll. It's amazing how he doesn't do anything and yet he gets good results. So
yeah, because he's got the good parts. I mean, Williams is such in dire straits that they've got no money. Basically, he has got the fresh parts.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, I know you're right. Although 20 million versus 80 million. Okay.
Yeah.
But there you go. Okay.
Oh, talking about drivers, can we make a big shout out? Can I make a big shout out to Leclerc again? I mean, he made a fantastic race, I think. With the Sauber.
Yes.
Really, really good guy. I mean, and I'm thrilled to see what he's going to do in Monte Carlo, which is, I mean, it's his home circuit. So, yeah, it was.
Yeah,
really
I think
cool.
That's being a bit ambitious for Leclerc.
Yeah.
Because Monaco is not something that you can overcome your car deficiencies with because of qualifying. So
I mean, the guy is pumped.
If you're a specialist, I don't think he's going to gain too much. However, I mean, he did a brilliant race again, and definitely he's outperforming his car slightly. Mm-hmm. So that's really positive for the future. I've yet to see him in a situation making a tough decision right? I mean, we talked about Grosjean. right? Well, Grosjean's been in a lot of tough decisions, and he tends not to make them right so often. So I'd like to see Leclerc just go through a couple of those.
Well, I mean, the way he kept Alonso on his back, it was quite impressive.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's Alonso, right? And Alonso's a top driver, so he's not going to take a stupid dive down somewhere where Leclerc's going to have to make a dodgy decision or make a dodgy decision. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we also have to agree on the fact that Leclerc usually drives against people like, Sainz, Grosjean, Ericsson, those kind of people. I mean, the dangerous guys, So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Max Verstappen.
I mean, the fact that you get at the end of the race, it's a big accomplishment,
So just to check in, did Max hit anybody this week?
No.
Well, I think he did actually. He lost his wing, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, he got into Stroll. And to be fair, I'm not gentle towards Verstappen, but I don't think it was Verstappen's fault at all.
Okay. Well, okay. I mean, that's okay. We can think that might be the case.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Let me put it this way. Compared to the usual shit that Verstappen does, I mean, he might have had a good excuse. I mean, that's. I mean, he might even have been right. That's how far I can go.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's just in Verstappen worldview, So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fair enough. Okay, so the next Grand Prix, Monaco, obviously, is at 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
So this is the duel in the Mediterranean, and it's another circuit which we I don't know. I don't know whether we should still be there, but I guess I'm just a cynic.
I just want to see a race where it rains in the middle of the race. I just want to see that. Fuck it. Yeah, I know.
See what the wet tires are doing this year.
I was so rooting for the fact that it was going to rain, but it didn't. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed.
Yeah, I was on the opposite side there. I was thinking, well, Lewis has done a good job.
Oh yeah, of course you did. Yeah.
The last thing we need is a safety car with people going off on the rain. Yeah. But there you go. I'm glad that didn't happen. And again, it makes the the championship incredibly interesting. If the tires get sorted out.
Yeah.
Because I have no doubt that this is it was just an off day for Ferrari. They probably just got some setup details wrong.
I mean, yeah. We got to see. We got to see. What the future brings on. Of course, if they decide mid-season that the front wing is going to be abolished, that's going to be fishy.
It's going to be abolished.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, G-Man, what do you think? Last ideas and what do you?
Oh, wait.
Oh, okay. Thank you, G-Man. Yeah, that makes sense. So thank you, Fabio. We will see you for the next one. I hope you have a good trip. And say ciao.
Ciao.